Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Amrit Raj and welcome to our ABAP on HANA CUM S4 HANA course completely free on YouTube. Here we are going to see in detail part of ABAP on HANA. From a long period of time, lots of students and lots of people were asking me to start this course. So okay, from today we are going to start our course, and this course is going to be around for 40 hours completely free on YouTube. You can watch, share and subscribe. Thank you very much. So let's start. I will start with the first topic in it, and we are going to see it everything in detail. Okay, so basics of HANA. Basics of HANA. We are going to start completely from scratch. The basic requirement for learning this course will be basic ABAP and a little bit object-oriented programming. The rest everything we are going to discuss over here. Okay, it's perfectly fine. So, what is HANA? Now, the question that comes into our mind is, what is HANA? What is HANA? So HANA stands for high performance and analytical appliance. High performance analytical appliance. What is the meaning of it? If we have to simply define HANA, what is HANA? So the simple definition is, it is an SAP's in-memory database. So the question arises, what is in-memory database? So in-memory database is a database that stores the data in computer's main memory, like RAM instead of hard disk. Main memory. What is the meaning of main memory here? Main memory means RAM. So HANA is nothing but SAP's in-memory database. We are going to discuss it in detail. But before that, if we check this definition, HANA stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance. What is high performance analytical appliance? Why we are calling it a appliance? Why we are not calling it a database? If this is a database, so why we are calling it appliance instead of database? So why we call HANA appliance? Why we call HANA appliance instead of database? Why we call it appliance instead of database? Why we call it? If it is a normal database, then why we need to learn so much about it? We have lots of databases like Oracle, Sybase, MS SQL, MySQL. Why HANA? Why it is so buzzing topic in this market? So the simple answer for it is because HANA is not only a software. It's not only a software, but it is the combination of both hardware and software. Unlike other databases, it's not only a software, it's a combination of hardware and software. So we cannot directly install it on our computer. So it requires a specialized software or specialized hardware certified by SAP for installation of HANA. That is why it is called as appliance. Instead of database. That is why it is called as appliance. I hope this thing is clear. Why we need, why it is not only a database. It is a combination of hardware and software. It's neither a software, neither a hardware, but it is a combination of both hardware and software, and it requires a specialized hardware certified by SAP for its installation. That is why it is called as appliance, not a software. Now the question comes into the market, comes into everyone's mind, those people who are still working on ECC system, that why it is so popular. If we have lots of database in this world, why HANA is so popular? Why HANA is so popular? So popular. Why HANA is so popular? This is the first question that comes in our mind. Okay, why HANA is so popular? The simplest answer for it is, before 2015, let's go before the launch of HANA. So before 2015, most of the traditional traditional systems, even most of the systems today also works on RDBMS, RDBMS, Relational Database Management System, Relational Database Management System. Most of the things works on the same way. Okay, Relational Database Management System. So what this RDBMS does, RDBMS stores the data into the hard disk, and where is my CPU? Where is my CPU? My CPU is on the CPU is the place where my processing is done, right? So where is CPU? CPU is actually connected with RAM. CPU is actually connected with RAM, and this RAM is connected with hard disk, right? This RAM is connected with hard disk. So if you have to perform any operation, CPU is my brain of the computer. So if you have to perform any operation, you will have to bring your data from hard disk to RAM, and from RAM to CPU itself, right? You will have to bring data from hard disk to RAM, and from RAM to CPU. So it takes a lot of times. If you have billions of data, so what I can simply conclude, it takes a lot of time to bring the data from hard disk to RAM, and because of this, the performance of RDBMS systems is not very high. It is not up to the mark. That's why if we talk about the real-time data processing, RDBMS systems are not that much efficient. They are not that much used. They are not that much efficient here. But what SAP did, SAP came with an idea. That we are simply going to store all our active data, all our data in the RAM only. All our data in the RAM only. That is in-memory database. All our data in the RAM only. So since all our data will be there in RAM only, so if I have to perform any kind of operation, so RAM is connected with the CPU, I can directly go to CPU and all my operation will be done. So SAP simply tried to remove this concept. No, they have not completely removed the concept of hard disk. It is still there. But what SAP did, it came up with an idea that let's say if I have 1 billion data in my database, and out of 1 billion only 100 millions of data will be the one which will be used. 100 millions of data which is the one which is used on an active manner, and rest of the data, let's say, are not used, dead data, they have not been used from like 10 years or 15 years. So instead of using them, we can simply store them into the hard disk. But whatever the data that is active in nature, we are simply going to store there on the RAM. All the active data will be now be there in the RAM. All the active data is in the RAM, is in the RAM. So what we can say, the performance of our HANA is very high and efficient if we compare it with RDBMS systems. If we compare it with RDBMS system, right? Then by default the efficiency of SAP system increased a lot because of this HANA, right? It is so easy for me to say that SAP simply came up with this approach that yes, I am simply going to remove the concept of hard disk, I don't need it. But was it so easy? Why any other organization cannot achieve it? Was it so easy? No, it was very costly. HANA is a very costly software, and it requires lots and lots of money for the installation and management part. So how was it possible for SAP to come up with this approach? As RAM is very costly. So let's see that. How was it possible for SAP to come with this approach? As HANA is very costly. How is it possible for SAP to come with this approach as HANA is very costly? So the simple answer for it is innovations happening in the world, happening in hardware and software ultimately led SAP to come with this approach. Now, what is the hardware and software innovations that have happened, and because of that SAP was it was feasible for SAP? So let's see them one by one. Hardware innovations. So if I talk about hardware innovations, the first I will say is over the period of time, the cost of memory came down drastically. Now if you talk about let's say if I'm going back 10 years ago, at that time if I have to buy 2 GB, this amount was like 200 or 300 rupees or bucks at that time. But if I talk about at this moment, I can easily buy more than 16 GB or even 32 GB RAM with the same amount. So the cost of memory came down drastically, right? Then what we saw, ability to fabricate large space in small chips, large space in small chips. So it was another possibility, it was another innovation that happened, that ability to fabricate large space in small chips. In small chips we can store lots and lots of spaces. So companies like Seagate, Sony, Intel started to build memories which are equal to size of our even nails, but they can store terabytes of space. Very small chips are capable of storing terabytes of space. So it becomes really easier, right? We also saw lots of innovation like multi-core CPUs Earlier there was only a single core CPU, so only one processor, only one execution can happen in the processor. But now each core of multi-core CPU is itself a CPU. Each core of a multi-core CPU is itself a CPU, and each core is capable of processing computation independently, which means we can simply give instructions to each core parallelly, and each core can process the data parallelly easily. So multi-core CPU, with the concept of multi-core CPU becomes one more invention, concept of multi-core CPU. It became one of the biggest invention there, that each core of the CPU is capable of handling and processing data. Then within the CPU we have caches also. So within CPU we can process the data in caches also. This was again one of the most important feature that led to the innovation, that even so processing, you see earlier we have only one CPU, one process at a time. Now we have multi-core CPU. Each core of the multi-core is a CPU itself, and also within the CPU we can process the data in cache memory also, right? Then we also had capability, this was another invention, capability of connecting multiple CPUs together, capability of connecting multiple CPUs. So let's say if I have 8 octa-core processors, so I can connect each of them, then it will become 64 processing unit, right? 8 into 8. So for example, if I have 8 octa-core processor, then it will become 64 units, right? Or if I have 34 processor, if I have 32 octa-core processor, then it will become 32 into 32 units of processing, right, within a single system. And we will be able to process that much instruction parallelly at the same time. Can you see the ability, how much it has been increased because of these hardware inventions, right? Also we saw lots of invention like adding power back devices, lots of power back devices, power backup devices coming into the picture. Lots of power backup devices like very powerful UPS, and lots of powerful devices available nowadays, which helps in backup in cases of power failures. So lots of hardware innovations happened because of this. Then we have software innovations also, so let's see them. So software innovations, lots of software innovations happen. So first one was compression. So compressing the data and then storing it, instead of directly storing it. If I have to let's say I don't have to use certain amount of data, so directly storing is not a good option. What we can do the compressing of it. We can decrease its size, so even after decreasing the data will not be lost. So we can store a massive data in a small set of memory after compressing it. And this is one important feature of compression. All compressing of data, compressing data do not causes loss of data. Compressing data do not causes loss of data. This is again one of the most important features of compression. It do not causes any loss of data. Then another important feature of the most important feature of our ABAP on HANA, storing data in column store and row store. Storing the data in column store and row store, very important. We will see it in detail. Then the concept of data aging came into the picture. Data aging, if there is a data which was not ever updated, deleted, inserted, that is we did not perform any CRUD operation from a very long period of time, let's say a decade, then there is no need to put that data in the RAM. That is why I said earlier that SAP has not completely eliminated the concept of hard disk. We still have the hard disk, but we only store the data, our active data into the RAM, and rest of the all our aged data or dead data is stored in our hard disk. So SAP came with this approach. There is no need to put this data into the RAM, which is not used for a very long period of time. We can simply move this data into the hard disk. That is why we should only store the data in the RAM, which is active in nature. Then insert only approach came into the picture, that updating the data is never a good option. We should never go for updating the data, but in itself updating or deleting, we will only go for insert part. So if we have to perform any updation of the old data, SAP simply eliminated its concept. SAP has a time stamp so that system will only read the latest data instead of the old one. So insert one, with the experiment we have found that the insert operation is relatively more easier if we compare about updating and deletion. So data is data aging concept is there. Then we have insert only approach. We have insert only approach. So insert operation is used more comparing with update or delete, okay. Then we have database caching and database sectioning also. So we do not store data randomly in our database, right? Data like master and transactional data, we first group them and then we store them into a particular section of our database. That's what see here. If you want to check, you can go and open any table. You'll find the same. I'm opening it. I'm trying to open. Just go it, log in it, go to any of the standard table. You will always find a data class in any of the standard table and technical setting. So let's say I'm going for EKKO table. Here if I go to the technical setting, the same thing I'm going to find in the data class. You can see master and transaction data. So what SAP has done, it has simply divided, sectioned the database into various parts, and master and transaction data we store them together so that we don't need to waste time when I'm looking for it. So with these innovations happening in the market, with all these innovations, with all these hardware and software innovations happening in the market, SAP or helped SAP, it helped SAP to come with a approach so that all the active data can be stored in the RAM itself and can be used by the CPU for data processing. So with this all innovations happening in the market, it helps SAP. It helps SAP to come with this approach of in-memory database. So as a result, the overall performance is very, very high of our HANA system. On the top of all these innovations, our HANA system is built, and now you can understand, if we compare with our traditional databases like RDBMS, why HANA is so important, why HANA is so effective for real-time data processing. Okay, so this is all about our introduction part. In the next part, we are going to discuss the concept of row store and column store. So please like and subscribe. Thank you very much. We will see you again.